Long ago, there was a talented but lonely scholar. He lived his entire life in solitude, becoming a ghostly figure who could not live without the wine of the world. As disaster approached, a man knew that the scholar's life was nearing its end. He sought him out, wishing to transform his spirit into a pen so that his soul would live on forever. However, the scholar only cared for his wine. As soon as he drank, ideas flooded his mind. He rushed to write a few lines of magical text. After casting the spell, the scholar turned into a feather pen. The man tried to draw the pen into a bamboo tube, but the pen protected itself and flew away. The man was at a loss, not knowing when he would encounter the pen again. Now, our main character is Trung Ha, a university student. He had to attend a tedious national language class. He couldn't find any other class last night due to the school's slow internet connection. He kept twirling his pen, paying no attention to the professor's lecture. This led to him being called to answer. His nonsensical response prompted a young man from the class to stand up and answer instead. Moreover, this young man pushed Trung Ha towards the professor. He had to apologize for disrespecting the lecture and answering incorrectly, which disrupted the poetry class. As Trung Ha was pushed to the desk, he resisted and knocked over a coffee cup and the professor's beloved feather pen. He managed to catch the cup, but the pen stepped on and broke. This pen was the professor's favorite, so the young man accused Trung Ha of being a destructive troublemaker. Subsequently, the professor and the young man took him away. Initially, Trung Ha had only chosen an extra class to improve his transcript. But now, faced with a boring professor who also liked to ask annoying questions, life gave him an additional challenge. This challenge was in the form of the young man named Trin Hoa, whom Trung Ha despised for his habit of belittling others. He was determined to teach this young man a lesson. Upon leaving, Trung Ha was taken to meet the principal, Trin Hoa. He had set up a scheme to shift some of the blame for the incident onto him and pin all the guilt on Trung Ha. The principal was also annoyed with Trung Ha. The national language professor, who had not been inclined to teach for 10 years, was disrupted by him. The professor scolded him harshly and even decided that he no longer needed to attend the class. Furthermore, his name was struck from the class list and recorded in the school register as a reminder. Trung Ha had to humble himself and apologize in the hope of being forgiven. But the national language professor informed him that this pen was no ordinary object. It often appeared at the old market, but not always. If he could find a similar one, the professor would consider forgiving him. The teacher believes that when being a teacher, one should teach rather than punish. He wants you to learn many moral lessons during the process of finding a new pen. By that time, he will have a new pen, while you will have a lesson. Trung Ha still only knows how to smile at you. Afterward, he had to go to more than a dozen old markets, but still couldn't find any pen similar to the teacher's. You suspect that the teacher deliberately played tricks on you, causing you to lose both effort and points. Suddenly, at this market, there was a stall selling fountain pens. You sat down to examine them, but none resembled the teacher's pen. Despite the owner's continuous recommendations, Trung Ha noticed Trin Hoa passing by and abandoned the pen buying task to follow the owner. Later, you followed Trin Hoa to a pawnshop. Trin Hoa came here to ask a friend to find a rare pen similar to the teacher's. Trung Ha knew this unpleasant person was trying to win the teacher's favor and took the opportunity to pin you down. Just then, Trin Hoa announced that they had found a pen similar to the teacher's. So, you took the chance to leave while Trin Hoa was still self-satisfied. When you arrived at the old market, it appeared deserted and quiet. You asked the shop owner and met a cute, charming girl who instantly caught your attention. She showed you a pen that resembled the teacher's bowl. You expressed interest in buying it, but she declined, waiting for her grandfather to negotiate the price. However, a man approached. He wanted something from there, but the girl firmly refused and asked him to leave. He held a pen box that Trung Ha intended to buy and was about to throw away, forcing you to intervene and prevent its loss. He was determined not to leave empty-handed, so he demanded that the shopkeeper take action. Without hesitation, he used magic to blow open the shop door. You, on the other hand, had to protect the girl. While he went inside to take what he wanted, the girl asked you to hold on to a box of pens and use snow magic to attack him. As he resisted, the snow continued to accumulate on him. Both of you demonstrated extraordinary power, fueled by special feathered pens. Suddenly, the pen he had taken flew back and struck him directly. You unexpectedly gained abilities and began blocking his attacks. You even shielded the girl and unleashed a move that left him bewildered and unconscious. When you woke up, you found yourself on a boat in a mystical realm. A sudden whirlwind transported you back to reality, and you were unharmed. A handkerchief lay nearby. The girl from earlier and her grandfather entered, asking if you were okay. Her grandfather introduced himself as the shop owner, and she was his granddaughter, Tu Dung. You wanted an explanation, something easy to understand. The grandfather believed you were disoriented by the ancient aura in the shop. He assumed you had fainted due to sensory overload. However, you vividly remembered the magical battle between the girl and the man in the vest, involving the enchanted pens. The grandfather dismissed it as an illusion, attributing your dream about his granddaughter to mere infatuation. Unfortunately, a persistent customer arrived, so you left. The grandfather and Tu Dung agreed it was for the best. As compensation for your fainting spell, the grandfather gifted you a valuable feathered pen. Back at school, you still couldn't believe the events were real, but the pen's impact on your face was undeniable. You were unscathed, yet the memories remained. This precious pen is more valuable, so when you meet the teacher, you may be sent on a difficult journey to find your lost pen, and then you will be forgiven. You both went to see the teacher to present the pen. Trin Hoa returned the exact pen the teacher wanted and explained that he was afraid the teacher would wait too long, so he decided to search on his own. Trung Ha must have learned something as well. Even though he couldn't bring the pen back, he still had the better pen. When he presented it to the teacher was pleasantly surprised. Not recognizing the quality of the pen, the teacher took out paper and began writing a few lines. As he explained, Trin Hoa gradually understood some of the poetic sentences. He wondered how his knowledge and poetry suddenly became so advanced. The teacher revealed that the pen was excellent and had a soul. Just writing a few characters was enough to feel it. Moreover, Trin Hoa had also learned many moral lessons, so the teacher felt the recent journey was not in vain. I went to a cyber cafe in Trung Ha to play games when I accidentally received an advertising message about not wasting my talent. After contemplating for a while, I realized that I had been reading ancient text all this time. Still bewildered, suddenly a group of troublemakers arrived, armed and ready to confront the cafe owner, Nan Chin, whom they considered unlucky. Nan Chin was skilled in martial arts, and he could handle the thugs. Trung Ha also rushed in to help, surprising Nan Trin with his determination. Grateful for the support, Nan Chin wanted to form a bond with Trung Ha. However, both were overwhelmed by the thugs. Just then, an inexplicable surge of power emanated from Trung Ha, propelling him into the air. Terrified and confused, Trung Ha didn't understand what was happening. Unable to defeat Trung Ha, the thugs redirected their attention to Nan Chin, who swiftly dodged their attacks and fought back. Nan was surprised when his younger brother, despite his appearance, showed such skill. He hinted that he wanted to meet up sometime, but Trung Ha, feeling a bit tired, decided to rest for now. This time, he was certain that he wasn't just imagining things. Suddenly, he found himself able to read ancient characters and felt a surge of excitement. He never expected that such supernatural events could happen in real life. Trung Ha planned to give himself a name, but feeling tired, he decided to take a nap and think about it later. Abruptly, Trung Ha woke up in an unfamiliar place. Next to him sat an old man composing poetry. As the old man approached, Trung Ha snapped out of his daze. He turned off the device and headed home. Trung Ha thought he'd need to return to the antique shop to find answers. However, he heard someone calling his name. When he turned around, he saw a strange monster behind him. Fearful, he tried to escape, but the creature pursued him. Trung Ha attempted to awaken his inner strength but failed. Just as he thought this might be the end, the monster began freezing over. Relieved to still be alive, Trung Ha realized that his savior was none other than Tu Dung. She asked him about the pen, and upon learning that he had given it to her, she vented her anger on the monster, putting an end to it. Trung Ha found himself liking her even more. Back at the antique shop, he learned about people who could bring objects to life using pens. His grandfather explained that the demon he encountered was a puppet created from a magical pen. It turned out that the pen he had returned to Tu Dung was its nemesis. The purpose of his gift to the young man was to protect his life. Yet, he carelessly gave it away to an outsider. Had his uncle's granddaughter, Little Dung, not appeared in time, he might have been lying under the grass. The young man quickly retorted, suspecting they had deceived him first. Had he known earlier, he would not have foolishly given it away. But the elder believed that his actions were to protect him. Since he was just an ordinary person, the elder advised him to forget everything. He suggested letting things return to their natural course. Feeling slighted, the young man immediately took offense. Clearly, the day before, the elder's granddaughter could not fight back. She had to rely on him to escape death. He felt that if he had such power, he should take on the corresponding responsibility. Yet, he still advised the young man not to rush his decision. He suggested listening to the elder's explanation before deciding. It wouldn't be too late. The story begins with the owner of the magical pen repository. He was once a minor scribe in chaotic times. Wars raged everywhere. Seeing the cruel trampling of scholars, sects, and culture, he was heartbroken. He did not want to waste the world's talents. He devised a way to preserve souls. He refined pens that transformed the talent spirits into spiritual pens. These would retain their brilliance. The young man's spiritual pen was named after Li Bai. This person was also known as the Poet King. Hearing this, the young man was extremely excited. It meant he was a master among the spiritual pen heroes. The only issue was the Li Bai pen inside the young man. It was not complete, it was just a small part. Suddenly, he stood up and attacked a person hiding behind Trung Ha. This person was Lao Lai, and his purpose here was to settle the score with the person who had wounded him in a previous encounter. Trung Ha, determined to assist her grandfather, stepped forward, but this only put her in greater danger. Trung Ha tried to block the blow, but her grandfather intervened just in time to prevent Lao Li's deadly strike. Lao Lai asserted that the pen hidden within Trung Ha belonged to the Jia cat lineage, and he was its rightful owner. This pen was one of the 7 precious spiritual pens, but obtaining it would cost Trung Ha her life. Her grandfather was now at a disadvantage. Tu Dung urgently asked Trung Ha to flee, buying them more time. Just as Lao Lai was about to defeat her grandfather, Trung Ha's latent power surged, and she managed to fend off Lao Li's attack. However, Lao Lai retaliated, grabbing her by the collar and lifting her off the ground. In a desperate move, her grandfather sacrificed himself to shield Trung Ha, inflicting enough damage to force Lao Lai to retreat. But this was only a fraction of Lao Li's true power. He promised to find a way to separate the spiritual pen from Trung Ha and restore peace to their lives. During this time, Trung Ha needed to learn how to control the pen to protect herself. She accepted this responsibility not only for her safety but also to honor the 2 benefactors who had saved her life. Tu Dung volunteered to teach her, and they formed an unlikely alliance. The next day, Trung Ha returned to school, surprising everyone by having a beautiful companion by her side. Tu Dung led him to the library, where she demanded he memorize all of Lai Baka's poems. Trung Ha's face tightened, and he decided to playfully tease her by reciting witty verses. Trin Hoa, believing Tu Dung was with Trung Ha out of pity, advised her to stay away from him. Despite the humiliation, Trung Ha stood up for herself, defending her new friend and urging him to study ethics to improve his character. Trung Ha's courage impressed Tu Dung, who stood by her side like an excited puppy. Hand in hand, they walked away, leaving Trin Hoa in shock. Here, Trung Ha is still looking at the hand that just touched the flag, even though now he can transform ancient poetry into images. However, he still doesn't fully understand their meaning because the spirit of each different sage is infused into these ink brushes, resulting in varying levels of intelligence. Normally, the brushes actively seek out people whose personalities align with theirs. If unlucky, they might accidentally choose someone lacking in intellect like him, which prevents them from fully utilizing their inherent abilities. Unexpectedly, their conversation was overheard by Trin Hong. Trung Ha secretly thinks that with his talent, he could surely become famous throughout the land after merging with the soul of a poet. However, Xiao Deng believes the best way to connect with the white jade bug is through the poet's verses. Yet, despite Trung Ha's talent, he doesn't quite grasp her suggestion to start with simpler poems. Whether he wants to rest or lie down on the ground when the Jia cat family member arrives, it's not an issue. Trung Ha wants to ask for more assistance, but the powerful Lai family discourages anyone from meddling in the affairs of the Middle Realm. His situation feels like encountering a final boss right after entering the village as a newbie in a game. Xiao Deng explains that each bug spirit's abilities are related to the hidden talents within. To succeed, one must rely on their abilities to deduce lineage and characteristics of the boot. But right now, Trung Ha just wants to take a nap. Seeing Trung Ha's exhausted appearance, Xiao Deng gives him a quick zap of knowledge and reveals that she also knows a bit about the ink brushes. However, these things are because he wanted to understand more about Tu Dung, so he previously asked the teacher for clarification. His efforts were rewarded with a smile from her. As poetry flowed continuously, a book by Tu Dung helped him break free from his infatuation with her. Then he praised the owner of the ink brush and compared himself unfavorably to others, which made Trung Ha feel inferior. He asked her whether the esteemed person had contributed to society or was merely selfishly keeping the spiritual pen for themselves. He believed that perhaps what he said was the reason why Lai Baka's ink disappeared. Just as he finished speaking, a strong surge of energy appeared, and a deer flew out of him, connecting him to Lai Baka's ink. However, this only indicated that he needed to learn more elsewhere. Trin Hoa called his uncle and asked him to contact a woman named Tan. Because she might be knowledgeable in the field he needed help with in the evening, Trung Ha felt a pang of jealousy when he brought her home. She wanted to ask for his room number to keep an eye on them, but the intense energy around him forced him to take her to a cafe. He told Nanchin that she was his pawn. Nanchin arranged for the couple to sit together, but she seemed bored, only browsing the web. Since Tu Deng was only familiar with training, he decided to teach her how to play games. They played League of Legends together. However, after a match, he began to doubt if she was modest about her skills. Tu Deng thought this game was easier than controlling the spiritual pen, so she demanded that he seriously learn what she taught. As he read more poetry, he transformed and eventually fell asleep. He encountered the mysterious old man again, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Tu Deng also asleep. Nanchin suggested more creative date ideas since someone like Tu Deng wasn't suitable for a game cafe. Trung Ha thanked his psychology-savvy older brother and then gazed at Tu Deng sleeping. He resolved to complete the spiritual pen control course early to protect himself. He didn't want Tu Deng to follow him forever, so he contacted the teacher to borrow the previous pen. But unexpectedly, Trin Hoa went ahead of him and had already asked to borrow it before. Upon hearing the name Trin, he became furious and decided to confront him. At the same time, he asked Lao Nan for help in the schoolyard, where he was completely clueless about the world of love outside. How could he let the girl stay at the internet cafe late at night and then go to her uncle's house? Trin Hoa had previously gone near the antique market, but due to the darkness, he accidentally tripped over his unconscious uncle. He thought his uncle was dead, but fortunately, he was still breathing. Just as he was about to call for emergency help, his uncle woke up and mumbled for help. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his chest, likely a warning from the spirit pen. Chung Ha decided to turn off his phone and assess the situation. He discovered an unfamiliar woman who was scheming against Trin Hoa. Thinking that Trin Hoa would be pleased to become a puppet for Ta Trung Ha outside, he believed there was still time to save her. Despite always being irritated by this person, as the male lead, he couldn't let her die without saving her. He realized he needed Tu Deng's help, but she probably wouldn't arrive in time. Now, if he rushed in, it would be like offering himself as a sacrifice to someone who didn't know what to do. Suddenly, a young man came up with an idea and stood in front of the door, calling her out. He expressed anger when he saw her daring to touch Jia Cat's family member. She didn't believe him, so he secretly used the spirit pen's magic to assert that he wasn't in the mood for jokes. Trung Ha threatened that Lao Lai was extremely angry, and the consequences would be unpredictable. However, she pretended to be innocent, claiming that Trin Hoa actively brought the pen to find her, thinking he was an outsider who didn't know anything. Trung Ha smiled triumphantly when he saw her fall into the trap. She appeared frightened and begged for mercy, promising to serve Jia Cat's family for life. Trung Ha demanded that she hand over Trin Hoa and cooperate. He planned to say something nice about her in front of Lao Lai later. Unfortunately, this statement led to his exposure. He tried to escape, but the chains held him tightly. Was he being drained of energy? Lao Lai wasn't the true master, and he would punish him for lying. Trung Ha realized he had underestimated this beautiful woman, who seemed to have a connection with the five senses and could control human nerves. She continuously made him experience sensations from pain to numbness. Eventually, she decided to end his miserable life by tightening the last chain around his neck. Just as Trung Ha was losing consciousness, he remembered the life-saving poem from the dream. He began reciting it, creating a powerful shockwave that blew her away. He recited another poem, and a purple smoke enveloped her. She vanished, leaving behind a pen box that Trin Hoa brought. Trin Hoa was also rescued and returned to the internet cafe. He asked Tu Deng to find out Trung Ha's whereabouts, but his older brother truly didn't know where this younger sibling was. Just as he mentioned it, Trung Ha returned with Trin Hoa, who was nursing her injuries. Unbeknownst to him, he had dropped the pen box, which he later picked up. At this moment, Trin Hoa looked no different from a living corpse. After hearing the young man recount the incident, Little Deng checked and found that, fortunately, only Trin Hoa's brain had not undergone severe transformation. She herself could only delay the rate of transformation, beyond that, she was at a loss. Just then, Trin Hoa's father burst in and ordered his men to take Trin Hoa to the hospital. He thanked the young man for saving his son and gave him some money before leaving. Little Deng was very proud of the young man for being able to resonate with the spiritual pen. However, she also warned him to carefully consider the poems he chose to use to avoid causing unstable breathing. He suddenly remembered the item that the woman had dropped, so he went to look for it. But Nan Chin had accidentally found it and opened it, causing the spiritual pen to enter his body. When Nan Chin woke up, he immediately asked the young man if he was part of the Justice League or a superhero. He speculated that both must belong to some mysterious organization, and each person must have mysterious powers. The young man believed it was enough to know they were on the side of good. They then devised a plan to protect Trin Hoa, suspecting he might be targeted. Little Dung wanted to explain, but he insisted that saving people was more important for now. They then went to the hospital to visit Trin Hoa. Nan Chin had been briefly explained by Little Dung about the spiritual pen. Suddenly, he felt the blood of those around him begin to stimulate him. His fingers started glowing, leaving him unsure if this was okay. They were still uncertain about the pen's abilities, so for now, they limited its use. Suddenly, a cloud enveloped the hospital. At first glance, Tu Dung recognized it as the multicolored pen capable of inducing illusions. Before they could issue a warning, both of them fell under its spell. Tu Dung tried to get them to close their eyes, but she too was ensnared, experiencing the most terrifying illusions of her life. Fortunately, Trung Ha managed to break free and help Tu Dung regain consciousness. She used her shield to block the strange lights. Tu Dung explained the meaning of each color as the shield shattered. She created ice barriers to resist, but her internal energy had no effect. Trung Ha succumbed to illusions, growing agitated and fearful. Nan Chin tripped, allowing Trung Ha to escape the illusion. Tu Dung knew their enemy was from the Jia cat family and likely targeted Trung Ha. She reinforced the ice wall, but the enemy summoned a group of demons, breaking through. Trung Ha asked Nan Chin to recite a poem by Lai Bok to counter the illusion, but he couldn't remember any. Seeing Tu Dung affected by a red light, Nan Chin rushed to protect her, inadvertently exposing a weakness. A demon hurled a projectile at Trung Ha, but Nan Chin's glowing hand accidentally healed her wound instantly. In the chaos, Nan Chin healed Tu Dung's injuries, each use dimming his hand's glow. Aware of his self-healing ability, he grew more confident. He charged into the mist, taking blows while healing himself to uncover the enemy behind it. Despite surrendering after a punch, Nan Chin showed no mercy. The stout man seized another opportunity, but Nan Chin gently blew him away. Trung Ha requested the man's surrender, but he took advantage of Nan Chin's touch, releasing a toxic substance that transformed him into a woman. The man fled, and Nan Chin didn't pursue. Trung Ha felt proud of their heroic act, but Tu Dung warned Nan Chin to visit the clinic next time. There, he realized his Vietnamese teacher was also present. Ong Kam Thay regretted inadvertently involving Trin Hoa. At this moment, it's revealed that the pen belongs to the Jia cat family and you learn about its past. Later, the old man leaves, so you ask Nan Chin Can to accompany you to bid farewell to the main teacher. Nan Chin Can intends to use his abilities to heal Trin Hoa. However, Nan Chin Can's power is limited. While searching for Xiao Dung, you accidentally overhear her conversation with someone. She reports that you were easily deceived by Trin Ha, who immediately questions her. Xiao Dung nonchalantly claims there's no reason she would choose to be near someone like you without purpose. Xiao Dung's grandfather had a plan from the beginning to gain your trust and use you as bait. After the incident, Trung Ha is furious with Xiao Dung's family, and you inwardly blame yourself for being too trusting. Suddenly, Tan Gi, the woman from before, seeks you out. You assume she's here to find Trin Hoa, but she also wants to retrieve the pen she dropped. You suggest she find Lao Lai, who knows that Trung Ha is connected to Xiao Dung's family, but you want to avoid getting involved with them further. Tan Gi, aware of your loneliness, proposes cooperation to find the 7 ink brushes. However, she cruelly mocks you for being betrayed by Trung Ha. She switches to negotiation, offering to heal Trin Hoa if Trung Ha agrees to work for her. You're unsure of her intentions, but she believes you won't let Trung Ha die without saving her. Trusting women now, you agree to help if Tan Gi heals Trin Hoa first. She leads you to retrieve a life-saving tool. Trin Hoa plans to let Tan Gi heal her, and afterward, whether you assist Tan Gi is up to you. Tan Gi takes you to a place, retrieves ink, and instructs you to hold it. Suddenly, she pulls out an electric rod and shocks you, causing you to collapse. Realizing he had been deceived, it was already too late. She took him away, and at that moment, Tu Dung arrived at the hospital where Nan Chin was still waiting. He wondered where the others had gone for so long. Unexpectedly, he encountered Tu Dung again. Trung Ha woke up, bound and with his spiritual pen sealed. He tried to call Nan Chin, but Tan Gi arrived quickly. She dragged him out of the trunk, revealing that she had taken him to a temple for an easy kill. Tan Gi wanted to seize his spiritual pen, but mysterious beads blocked her attacks. A high-ranking monk appeared, revealing that they knew Tan Gi was causing trouble. They ordered the monks to handle Tan Gi, who was highly skilled in martial arts. During the fight, Tan Gi released Trung Ha from his bonds and promised not to harm him if he helped her. However, tired of being deceived, he chose to support the monks. Before finishing the battle, the young man stopped and allowed Tan Gi to stand up and fight back. The monk didn't want him to tolerate people like Tan Gi. Tangi used Chung Ha as a shield and escaped. The monk used one of his beads to release Chung Ha. Introducing himself as Peter, the monk revealed that Chung Ha was the keeper of Lai Baka's pen. He prepared 4 stances to confront them, but Peter explained that they didn't intend to harm Chung Ha. Of course, he didn't want to believe it, but the abbot immediately nullified his abilities by disrupting the rhythm of his poetry reading. Peter genuinely wanted to learn more about Chung Ha's abilities and discuss specific matters, particularly regarding how his pen would soon become part of the ritual to open the tomb. The abbot revealed that Tu Dung's family had long been embroiled in inheritance issues. The family members had betrayed each other, leading to numerous conflicts. Tu Dung's grandfather was the instigator but later disappeared. Suddenly, someone else appeared, and the 2 disciples had to deal with it. It turned out to be Chung Ha's older brother. Thanks to Chung Ha's earlier phone call, he had heard everything and rushed here. Peter then informed the older brother about the pen's history. Suddenly, they sensed another presence, prompting Peter to use magic to conceal the group. The newcomer was the same person who had attacked Tu Dung's shop before. He brought someone here to exploit the spiritual energy of this place for easy killing and pen theft. Just as he was about to strike, the Chung Ha group intervened unexpectedly. They faced the person who had previously caused trouble for them. To their surprise, he was here again. He rejoiced at the chance to obtain 2 of the 7 most powerful spirit pens. In the ensuing battle, Peter realized that his level was insufficient, especially when he lost focus. The opponent had used magic against the disciples, making it difficult for them to retaliate. Both sides lacked spirit pens but possessed high skill. Unexpectedly, the 2 disciples charged forward, attacking while the opponent was casting spells. The opponent retreated behind Peter's boundary, frustrated by this tactic. He unleashed a powerful attack, breaking through Peter's defense and pushing him back. Chung Ha was still recovering, so Peter used all the beads to create a shield. Despite reinforcing it, the opponent managed to break through and prevent anyone from escaping. The disciples had to intercept blows, and Chung Ha was captured. Just as the opponent was about to harm Chung Ha, he was stabbed by the person he had brought along. At this moment, Nanchin saw that one of his fingers had recovered. He intended to use it to correct the name of the Jia cat family. However, Nanchin chose to save people before names. Jia cat quickly took the pen from the body of the other person. Nanchin tried to rush over and push him away to heal the young man. Then, the young man was doused with gasoline and grabbed by the head by that person. Nanchin stabbed his finger at him but hit the pen holder instead, causing the pen to fly out towards the young man. Realizing that Nanchin's ability was to reverse time, not to heal or poison, he then pulled the young man closer. He was about to launch an attack on him, but the young man resisted. The attacker's blow hit the pen. The pen unexpectedly flew towards the young man and entered him. Now, he had gained a new power and released a dragon aimed at the attacker. The attacker then escaped, and several groups of the young man were fortunate to escape this time. In fact, the young man had used Li Bai's pen to deceive the attacker. He did not yet know how to use the new pen properly. He was surprised that someone dared to kill for a pen and disregarded the law to such an extent. Peter saw that indeed the 2 pens had merged. However, the problem was that the young man did not like this because one after another, people targeted him. Peter thought the young man should be happy because no one had ever absorbed 2 spiritual pens at once. The last person who tried that had died suddenly. Suddenly, Nanchin remembered that Little Dung had asked him to give this to the young man. It clearly stated how to return the pen without causing death to the reader. Not understanding anything, Peter borrowed it to take a look. He said it was related to the Tomb of the Pens. Perhaps if they followed him to meet the legitimate clan leader of Little Dung's former house, they might understand these words. The young man also did not want to meet Little Dung again for fear of being deceived once more. So, he reluctantly followed Peter. They then split up because there were 2 tombs of the Pens. Nanchin and the second pillar would go to find information about one place. Meanwhile, he and the young man would meet the clan leader of the Vi house to ask about the words on the paper. Afterward, the 2 of them arrived at a famous scenic spot. Peter informed them that this place was established by the Vi family. They met an acquaintance of Peter's, who led them to meet the clan leader. Upon arrival, Chung Ha was astonished to learn that Peter was the son of the Vi family's head. After assessing the situation, the clan leader was surprised by Chung Ha's rare ability to hold 2 spiritual pens within the same body. Despite the leader's desire to nurture this potential, Chung Ha declined. Peter argued that Chung Ha only wanted to return the pen safely, but the leader bound them both, considering Chung Ha's uniqueness. Earlier, Peter's uncle had brought him here, suggesting that instead of focusing on the spiritual pens, Peter should pursue wealth. These pens had caused unpredictable outcomes, some lived, others died. However, the stubborn leader insisted on following ancestral traditions. Recognizing that Trung Ha was now a target, the clan leader decided it was best for them to stay. Eventually, the Vi family released both Trung Ha and Peter, leaving them to resolve their own fate. As an apology, the leader explained how to use the mysterious pen that could predict the future. If Trung Ha ever felt lost, they should turn to it. Trung Ha tested the pen, realizing it consumed the owner's life force and must be used sparingly. The pen also rewrote a poem, and Tu Dung provided guidance. Now, Trung Ha faced decisions independently. Peter believed returning the pen was the right choice, but the sudden seizure of the clan leader remained a mystery. Peter realized that the pen inside his father had disappeared, and he had truly passed away. Suddenly, an elderly woman saw them and misunderstood, thinking they had killed the clan leader, so she ran off shouting. Peter knew they had been deceived. When others arrived, they couldn't find Peter and Trung Ha, so the entire area was sealed off. At this moment, Peter led Trung Ha to Tan Tong. Peter wanted to visit the ancestral altar one last time and guide Trung Ha through a secret passage. Peter opened the secret passage, leading down to an underground tunnel beneath the ancestral home. He guided Trung Ha to a stone slab that concealed a place where all ownerless spiritual pens were stored. Only the clan leader was allowed access temporarily, so they hid here to evade Tan Gi, who had previously stolen a pen and escaped without anyone knowing. Trung Ha found a mechanism and helped both of them gain entry. Inside, they discovered many inscriptions. Suddenly, Trung Ha's flashlight hit two pens, triggering a reaction, likely an anti-theft sensor. Aware that the creatures were sensitive to sound, Trung Ha created a loud noise to disable them and then attacked, turning them back into inanimate objects. He pulled out a feathered pen and asked Peter for his opinion on the technique. Peter suddenly realized something from Trung Ha's words and rearranged the characters, discovering another exit within. He pushed aside a stone slab, revealing a hidden path. They reached the pen storage room, and while Trung Ha assumed Peter would take one, Peter was more interested in dismantling the mechanism. Both of them later discovered signs of sword strikes here, indicating that there had been a battle. It seemed that someone had attempted to escape and used the sword to find a way out. The sword marks were quite numerous on this side of the wall, so Trung Ha immediately used magic to break it open, revealing a true escape route. They both used this path to exit. Trung Ha would join forces with the main group, while Peter would investigate his father's death. They would part ways here. Trung Ha reunited with the main group and stayed overnight. Using her prophetic abilities, she tried to find a way to return the pen. Unfortunately, the results yielded no clues. Tu Dung suggested that she shouldn't dwell too much on the woman because they still had Peter and the two disciples to help. Meanwhile, an incident occurred with Peter. Some strangers targeted Trung Ha when they saw her holding the spirit pen. The next morning, the entire Trung Ha group arrived at a temple where there was a tomb known as the Pen Tomb. Upon arrival, Trung Ha suddenly felt a headache and saw the image of a demon. Another person appeared and lured the two disciples away. A girl aimed at Trung Ha, while a third person claimed they were looking for someone from the Trung family. However, Trung Ha charged forward, and suddenly, he was trapped within a boundary and transformed into a spirit pen. The deceiver had revealed Trung Ha's family to imprison him. To escape, he had to defeat this opponent through poetry. Meanwhile, Trung Ha outside was continuously bombarded with throwing knives. Where was Peter hiding? The girl managed to find him, and her power even shattered rocks. Peter created a sword and charged, but the sword broke. When blocking an attack, you created a shield that could only withstand 2 sword strikes before breaking. So, you decided to create smoke to obscure your vision. However, she used a spell from her ink brush to pinpoint your location and charged at you. In retaliation, she pushed you back forcefully. You summoned a dragon to fly away, but she hurled a spear that sliced the dragon in half, causing you to fall. You noticed that her ink brush could enlarge objects, while Nan Chin can used his rap disability to change the other person's name, leaving them helpless in their own realm. As you attempted to create a sword to defend yourself, she unexpectedly struck the ink brush, freeing a demon that you had seen upon arrival. The demon immediately attacked, targeting the young girl named Chi. She escaped and instinctively pulled you to rescue the sword-wielding girl. Instead of gratitude, Chi slapped you, leaving you puzzled. Suddenly, Chi noticed the prophetic ink brush, and the bespectacled boy with tear-filled eyes ran to save the girl. You and Nan Chin can also wanted to flee and find the other twin, but the demon heads pursued them. After a roundabout chase, they returned to the demon, realizing they couldn't escape. They sought refuge in a corner to devise a plan. The bespectacled older brother decided to cooperate with you, transferring power from his ink brush and the prophetic brush to you. Meanwhile, Qi also shared her abilities. However, the demon began absorbing all the surrounding resentment and transformed into a powerful demon monk. The bespectacled man recognized this demon monk from long ago. Previously, a Zen master had entrusted the demon monk with a written scroll. Emperor Duongtai had repeatedly demanded the scroll, but the demon monk lied, claiming it was destroyed during a war. Later, a scholar arrived at the temple, and he and the demon monk quickly became close friends. He trusted and took the leather-bound letter, only to be robbed by that scholar, who was sent by the Tai Tong path. The monk harbored resentment and eventually became a demon. But now, even if they knew, they could not hold out any longer. Suddenly, the protagonist realized that the prophetic pen kept pointing straight at the pen's tomb. So, they thought of destroying the pen's tomb to see if anything would change. And the only one who could do it at that moment was the knife-throwing girl. The group then rushed out to shield and support each other to reach the pen's tomb. The protagonist would follow and restore them as much as possible. Together with the protagonist and the girl, they advanced, and the protagonist had to continuously use healing until only one last time remained. He decided to use it for the girl and help her have enough strength to break the pen's tomb. However, the negative energy remained because the monk's urn had not been destroyed. She had to apologize for the offense and threw the knife into it, causing the negative energy to erupt. The monk's vengeful spirit remained, but many pillars of light began to shine. They then descended into a nearby lake. A spiritual pen rose from below, and Li Bai's pen suddenly broke free, flew up, and was attracted to the pen above. The pen wrote a poem and began to convert the monk. He was able to let go of his grudge and achieve transcendence. At that moment, Tu Dung's uncle arrived to take the new pen. Tu Dung came and informed Trung Ha that her uncle had intentionally lured him here because only his Li Bai's pen could attract the other pen. He knew he had been deceived once again, and the man advised him to keep the white jade pen for future use. When Tu Dung came to help Trung Ha, he was only driven away by him. He believed that he would never trust anything said by the two grandchildren of the lady's house anymore. Tu Dung also had to leave, and the man in the vest from the Jia cat family, Truong Khan, was now running towards him. He had been frozen outside by Tu Dung's grandfather and was planning to use Trung Ha and Nan Chin to get the pen. But they didn't have a tube to hold the pen, so they decided to take both of them back to the Jia cat house. When they returned to the school, Khan was frustrated because the clan leader still hadn't allowed them to kill Trung Ha and Nan Chin to get the pen. Truong Khan didn't want Trung Ha and Nan Chin to live because he feared that the secret would be exposed. He had tried to kill someone to get the pen at the temple before. So he plotted to kill someone and destroy the evidence, but when he arrived, he saw the girl, Thap Q, using a dagger. She had already killed both of them. Thap Q sought revenge for her teacher, who had been killed by Truong Khan previously. After a conversation, Thap Q noticed something unusual in Truong Khan's words. He inadvertently revealed that he was the one who had murdered Thap Q's teacher, Trung Ha, and Nan Chin. They stood up because the scene had been orchestrated by him to make him confess. Earlier, when he was tied up, Trung Ha had revealed the truth about Truong Khan. But no one believed it, so he used the divine pen to point out the culprit, ensuring that this plan was set in motion. During interrogation, Truong Khan's abilities were used by the steward to pull out the pen. This approach will emotionally harm him and eventually force him to reveal information, but he remained stubborn, refusing to confess. Suddenly, his eyes turn red with anger, and then he collapses. Even the main character's abilities fail to save him. The butler notices that someone has placed a seal to prevent this person from disclosing the mastermind behind it all. The seal is so powerful that even the main character's abilities are useless. Later, Thap Q apologizes to you for the misunderstanding and thanks you for saving the opportunity at the tomb. Subsequently, the butler wants to take Trung Ha to meet the patriarch of the Jia cat family. However, they are surprised because this person is quite young and was caught lying in front of Tan Gi. He invites you to sit down and talk directly. The issue is that he still doesn't know how to retrieve the pen. So, he advises you to try your luck at the remaining tomb, but you must be cautious. There's a faction led by Quan Tuan But, who practices a method of pen cultivation using living humans. This method fails and turns people into demons who serve the one who practices it. The Vai family and the Jia cat family cooperate to fight against these individuals, but they can't eliminate them all. The protagonist, suspects that Tu Dung's father is connected to Quang Tuan. No one knows if the pen has any other sinister motives. Meanwhile, Ong Vai notices that Tu Dung is still angry with him. He reveals that he doesn't have much time left to live and promises not to plot against Trung Ha. If he passes away, she must continue to live well. In the following days, Trung Ha and Nan Chin are invited to stay at the Jia cat house during the day. Thap Q takes them sightseeing, golfing, and they share meals with the patriarch. However, despite the comfort, they still feel uneasy, as if they are being held captive. When they try to return to the internet cafe, they are also stopped. Suddenly that evening, Peter messaged that he had a lead on returning the pen, so he arranged to meet Trung Ha and instructed him to leave Jia Cat's house early. Q overheard this and decided to help him because there were other traders who were also investigating the same location where Peter had arranged to meet Trung Ha. She wanted to go there to resolve the situation. Together, they managed to sneak out and lead both of them to the less guarded back door, but they encountered a vigilant chef. The chef allowed all three to leave, but as soon as they stepped back inside, they were continuously teleported, realizing that the chef was playing a trick. They noticed that every time the chef stomped his foot, they would be shifted 180 degrees, so they split up into 3 directions based on where the chef had stepped and moved themselves to a 90-degree position. When the chef realized one person was missing, Nanchin struck him from behind because he remained still and unaffected by the teleportation. They then took a train to the meeting point and hailed a taxi. Suddenly, the hospital called, reporting that Peter needed urgent medical attention, and the driver was on the way to the pre-arranged meeting point. So, Thap Q and Nanchin decided to investigate there, while Trung Ha went to the hospital to check on Peter's condition. Later, when they met Peter at the hospital, he revealed his investigation process and discovered that his uncle was the one who conspired to assassinate his father in order to seize control of the family. Through further investigation, he also found that Jia Cat's family was involved in the case and colluded with a third party. However, Trung Ha knew that the people from Jia Cat's family were the real traitors. When Peter arrived at the meeting point for his investigation, he was ambushed and severely injured by powerful assailants. Trung Ha worried about Thap Q and Nanchin, but they later witnessed members of their sect eliminating the traitors, who had been killed. Determined to avenge their fellow disciples, Thap Q and Nanchin ventured deeper into the situation. Trung Ha called Nanchin to warn him, but he was too busy running and didn't notice his phone. This made Trung Ha worried that both of them were about to get into deep trouble. At this moment, both of them hid in a corner and saw the butler and the bespectacled man from the Jia Cat family. The man who previously used the 5-color pen was also related to the entire group of conspirators from the Jia Cat family. This man wanted the butler to join them, but the butler firmly refused. Trung Ha asked Peter about the dangerous strength of the conspirators. Peter revealed that they were like monsters. Nanchin now realized that the monster was Trin Hoa, the person with the 5-color pen. When the butler made a move, Trin Hoa attacked, but the butler managed to fend him off. The butler then used his power to immobilize Trin Hoa and threw him into the sky before slamming him down. While fighting, the butler also tried to figure out who was controlling Trin Hoa. Unable to find the connection, he confronted Trin Hoa again. However, Trin Hoa had mutated further due to additional magic. The butler continued to push Trin Hoa back, but the other man transformed into a demon and attacked the butler and Nanchin. Both of them had to face this threat, but they hadn't reached the location yet. The butler used Trin Hoa as a hostage to threaten both of them to stop. Nanchin used her power to create a blinding sound, and Nanchin took advantage of the distraction to attack the man controlling Trin Hoa. Meanwhile, the other man had to deal with the demon. Despite their abilities, Nanchin and the butler were overwhelmed. Fortunately, Nanchin managed to restore the butler and Thap Q. At the same time, Trung Ha arrived and recognized the man controlling Trin Hoa. He was Lao Lai, the person whom the butler had previously deceived by pretending to be the Jia Cat family's patriarch. Before, Trung Ha knew that Lao Lai was somewhere around here. He was also angry because they dragged an ordinary person like Trin Hoa into this affair. Just as he was about to face the challenge, Old Lai used magic to knock out the 3 people accompanying him. Old Lai revealed that he had cast a spell causing the 3 to gradually lose their vitality unless he handed over 2 pens, otherwise, these 3 would die. He didn't know how to return the pens, so the old man guided him. He explained that this place was once the tomb of the pen, but it had been destroyed in the war. However, the creator of this pen tomb had once drawn 4 dragons to guard this place. The 4 dragons were the 4 blue stone pillars behind that palace. He had to draw eyes on them to reopen the pen's tomb. He wasn't sure if the old man would spare the 3 after retrieving the pens, but now he had no other choice. As he was about to leave, the multicolored pen intended to harm the 3 bodies behind him, so when he turned back, he was beaten up. He couldn't fight back, so the attacker thought he was pathetic for being deceived by one person after another, and since he couldn't act rashly and harm the 3 unconscious people, he had to follow them to the 4 stone pillars. He then had to draw eyes on all 4 dragons and successfully freed them. The dragons then created a magical formation and a portal. Trung Ha stepped inside and arrived at a fairy-like realm. The group outside thought he would surely die in there, and when the time came, they just needed to enter, take the pens, and then deal with the three outside to take their collection of pens as well. Meanwhile, Trung Ha was surrounded by the four dragons, but a high monk stepped out to welcome him. The monk said he was both the creator of the pen's tomb and not, just as he was both Lai Bak and not. The reason he didn't consider himself the creator was that he was simply a spirit residing here. He led him inside and offered him a drink. When he drank it, all his wounds healed. He knew the two outside had tricked him into dealing with the four dragons in their stead, but those dragons had long guarded this place, and he was the only one allowed in by the monk and the four dragons. He asked the monk for a third pen to counter them and save people. The monk thought that his body wasn't stable enough to handle two pens, let alone a third. But he was willing to risk his life as long as it could save the three outside, ready to pay the price. However, the monk informed him that there was no spiritual pen here. He had been free all his life, and when he was about to die, the owner of the mystical pen came to find him to train the pen's spiritual essence. However, he refused and sent his soul into this place. He realized that this was not a tomb for the pen, but rather a place of peace. In truth, he noticed that Lai Baka's poetry was also rewritten here. If he understood the verses, he would grasp the true power of the Lai Bak pen. So, he asked Hawaii for help. The other pen outside was bored and planned to have some fun with Thap Q, but Nan Chin pushed him away. Earlier, Nan Chin had received the bead necklace from Peter as a protective charm from Trung Ha. He understood the difference between himself and his opponent, so he entrusted it to Nan Chin, who could alter the situation. Nan Chin quickly healed the other two and stalled Trung Ha. Hawaii had a way for him to unlock the true power of the Lai Bak pen. He would merge with the protagonist's body and transfer knowledge. However, if Hawaii disappeared, this illusion would vanish, and the safe pen return opportunity would be lost. Now, he faced two choices: confront the other two or escape the mystical pen. But Trung Ha was an adult. Adults make decisive choices. Outside, the three split up. Thap Q fought Trin Hoa and Nan Chin battled Lao Lai. The steward held the five-color pen, gaining an advantage by imprisoning it for combat. Nan Chin struggled against Lao Lai, who retaliated with a demon mask. Nan Chin was injured and targeted the steward, but Nan Chin was born to replace him. The group reunited, but Trung Ha had taken them out of the illusion. Lao Lai realized he had forgotten the connection between Hawaii and Lai Bak. He attacked first, but as Trung Ha prepared a move, the protagonist began reciting poetry. Lai Bak appeared, pushing the other two back. Trin Hoa fell under Lai Baka's control and lost consciousness. The other two attacked, but Lai Bak summoned a dragon to block their moves and counterattacked. Trung Ha then wrote a verse, surrounding both opponents, and struck in the middle. They emerged victorious, remembering their promise to Hawaii. At this moment, he will need the knowledge of the old man to fight. Eventually, he will help Nan Chin enhance the ability to reverse time, and then bring the old man back to assist him in retrieving the pen. He wants to ensure the safety of his friends. Nan Chin has recently regained consciousness, so he immediately questions Lao Lai about the owner. However, Lao Lai cannot speak because it would lead to his death. Suddenly, he starts exhibiting symptoms similar to those of the Vai family patriarch before his demise. The five-color brush took advantage of the situation and escaped, while Lao Lai managed to utter the name Ham Truong. Ko recalls hearing Thay Kwakungu mention this name during a visit to Trin Hoa in the institute. Now, he suspects that everything was orchestrated by his teacher from the beginning, and instructing him to find the pen was the first step in that plan. This concludes part 1 of the film.